Good afternoon, everyone. Number of beehives worldwide up. Number of wildfires, more particulates in the atmosphere up. Number of volcanic eruptions, more particulates in the atmosphere up. Record ice gains on Greenland. Blocked out sun up. Record snow totals above 2 standard deviations up. Bank for International Settlements cross-border payments. Ripple Connect through Swift Ripple liquidity. Distributed ledger settlement. That's probably going to be up. And if you're not growing in a greenhouse, you can think about microgreens and sprouting. Grains you can buy by the 50-pound bag. A teen who was behind the $100,000 cryptocurrency scheme has been sentenced to prison. Graham Ivan Clark was 17 at the time he hacked 100 high-profile Twitter accounts and used the funds to scam 6 figures worth of cryptocurrency from people around the world. Some of the accounts that he was able to hack: Barack Obama, Joe Biden, Apple, Uber. How difficult would it be for a determined hacker to hit other accounts? And by using a virtual private network, it grants you an extra layer of internet protection by allowing you to browse anonymously. You can head over to virtualshield.com, and in the download tab, I'm going to choose Firefox. And click Install Now to add the Virtual Shield add-on. It's just that easy. And get started with your free 30-day trial. Install it, click Connect. You'll see the shield turn from red to green. And you'll see how from my initial service provider, I was able to even change my IP. Virtual Shield Network protected. Get Virtual Shield for 50% off today by going to virtualshield.com/adapt2030 or click on the link in the description box below. And now on with the video. And as we get into this grand solar minimum, which we're starting to see a lot of food price increases in availability across the entire landscape. Wherever you turn, there's another shortage of this, that, or the other. So a lot of things that you're going to need that could be tradables, that have been tradable throughout history: honey and wax, wax for candles, propolis, and the pollen itself. Great to see that the number of beehives is increasing. So if you are looking for a hobby or something to get into on an agricultural basis in preparation for the grand solar minimum, beekeeping would be it. And also another skill in your quiver would be understanding where every co-op, that's a farm co-op, is within your 50-mile radius, where you can go buy 50-pound bags of either wheat, oats, or whatever seeds are in season. It could be peas during the spring, beans during the summer, because these can be grown out for grass, because we know wheatgrass has an enormous amount of health benefits. So does oatgrass and barley grass. So to be able to come up with microgreens or sprouts or grasses for your nutrition during times where it might get lean, imagine being able to grow this on trays and use this as a tradable item as well. And why would I even mention food production declining, having to use greenhouses? And if you can't have a greenhouse, you're going to have to think of a different way in growing trays or indoor vertical agriculture, because the amount of particulates in the atmosphere is now so discernible that it's affecting our global weather patterns, rainfall patterns, and the amount of sun striking the planet's surface, along with cloud building, that there will need to be more distractions inbound, summer and fall. These types of eruptions right here. Volcanic eruption over in the Congo. Again, this was an eruption on a solar minimum in the 2 past solar minimums. Massive eruption, sending ash up 50,000 feet. But this is just one of dozens going on at the moment. I think there were 42 eruptions last week. Equatorial, mid-latitude, and also up in Alaska and Russia. Add into this, Canada, massive wildfires. Russia, massive wildfires. Everywhere you look across tundras, incredible wildfires. Also sending huge amounts of smoke into the atmosphere. Now, this much additional smoke is one thing, but lava rolling into cities like you saw in the Congo is quite some other. The new Pompeii. I mean, look where our cities are now. They're so close to these volcanoes because in the last 400 years they haven't erupted. We thought it was a thing of the past. encroachment. And we saw through Central America all last year when the volcano started to erupt. Human habitation is no match for lava. But with all the particulates in the atmosphere, you should start to see some effects other than delayed grow and plant times. This one's an interesting one here, coming off the mass ice gain. Greenland, this gigatons per day. Possible new record, depending if it reaches 8 gigatons for this time of the year. Now, please remember, the data is only from 1979 until present. So this approximately 8 gigaton gain coming into the melt season. So the hair is being split between the 0.1% of difference. And at the moment, Polar Portal, offline. Jumping over to the Finnish Meteorological Institute, the red dots represent max snow cover for this past winter, Northern Hemisphere. Outside those blue bands, you're coming well outside 2 standard deviations. The center line there, which is the dot, that's the average, but then the blue marks where the max is for 1 standard deviation. You're probably going to be coming at least 2, possibly into 3 standard deviations away from norm, which should be news headlines in itself because we all knew it would be a thing of the past. We were told by the experts. Italy's ski season finally starting in late May now that the restrictions are lifted. French following as well. Extra late snow in May. And a lot of areas that were already open and then closed for the season have now decided to reopen because of incredible May snowfalls. And if you thought it was only in continental Europe, hold on a second. Scotland, late spring snow, burying higher elevations. Met Office talking about reaching all the way from the highlands down to the central belt. And unthinkable accumulations down to less than 500 foot in elevation. Whiteout conditions. If you know anybody from Scotland, ask them how common this event is during their entire lifetimes. And you could direct them to the powder skiing in May article right there from In the Snow. Ian Irons, during their vlog filming, refreshing images to see as everybody was terrified this glacier would melt into oblivion. Nice to see it recovering. And also, one of my favorite repositories for information on all things XRP and central banks, digital perspectives, shout out. And delving into one of the PDFs mentioned in the video, cross-border payments. Now, this is some slides off a PowerPoint from the Bank for International Settlements. They're talking about cross-border payments, how they're going to try to integrate over into distributed ledger settlements for the derivatives market, which is approximately $4 quadrillion. Now, one of the things mentioned during the talk was the urgency to slide away from execution of settlement to actual payment, because right now it takes about 72 hours or 3 days. Now, during that interim, there could be banks collapsing, which they're really worried about at the moment. And then where does that leave governments, institutions, or investors? So the whole crux of this movement forward with central bank digital currencies, the fintech and bridge currency settlement, which just validates that the entire world's moving toward central bank digital currencies and how it's going to be used between continents and central banks. But when they name Ripple Liquidity and a Ripple Connect right inside with a connection from SWIFT, distributed ledger settlement, because what they want to do is get that settlement down from the 3-day time period right into 4 seconds, so there's no default if a bank were somehow to collapse during that 3 days. And I find it so interesting that Ripple's been suspended across all exchanges, except maybe if you go to Asia, or maybe some over-the-counter, or somebody you know is selling some. Try to go to a regular Western exchange, quote unquote, and get Ripple. You can't. With the SEC investigation, Ripple's currently delisted. So imagine when it comes back on list again after the settlements are finished. It's not going to be $1.50, knowing that the BIS just leaked it out. And think about that for a second. Bank for International Settlements worried about banks collapsing in a 72-hour period between settlement on derivatives that they need a faster mechanism to assure payment, where does that leave the rest of the planet? Something nefarious this way comes. You're probably going to want to have some storable foods. My Patriot Supply and Adapt 2030, 2-week or the 4-week emergency food supply. And My Patriot Supply also has 1 month, 6 month, and 1 year packages. The link's in the description box below. It's a great way to support the channel. I do appreciate you watching. Additionally, all the images and stories for tonight's video are in the description box below as well. Cooling time. And I'll see you next video.